Hello, this is Sarah Braasch. Welcome back to my channel. So now I want to do a video about the email that proves that I'm lying about having been harassed during the Living or Napping While Black hate crime hoax at Yale University during spring 2018. Just kidding. Actually, you'd have to be a fucking idiot to think that this email is some kind of smoking gun that proves that I've been lying all the time about having been harassed during the Living or Napping While Black hate crime hoax at Yale University during spring 2018. Complete fucking idiot. Seriously. And I'm going to explain why. I'm not going to straight up read the email chain. I'm just going to paraphrase it and describe it. But you'll realize once I tell you what's going on. So, and actually this email corroborates pretty much every single claim I've made about what actually happened during the Living or Napping While Black hate crime hoax at Yale University during spring 2018. So fucking ridiculous. Like seriously, like who the fuck read this email and thought, whoa, we got her now. Okay, it's like I'm angry that I have to waste my time making this video to point out how fucking stupid these people are. So anyway, this is an email chain that began with an email that was sent to me on Tuesday, March 20th, 2018. And it was an email sent to me by Yale Campus Police Sergeant Marnie Robbins Hoffman. And she sent it to me. It was a follow-up to a phone call she had made to me. And she had left a voice message. And the email was her reaching out to me, wanting to tell me about victims' services that were and apparently are available on Yale's campus and also from within the Yale Campus Police Department. I sent, I think, ultimately three emails in reply. That email was the one and only email that I ever received from Sergeant Marnie Robbins Hoffman. She's a whole other story that I don't need to get into in this video, but yeah, so that was Tuesday, March 20th, and I replied, ultimately, for the most part, replied the next day on Wednesday, March 21st, and the last email that I sent in reply was on Sunday, March 25th. Now, these dates are important. And in the email, well, I'm going to do a quick kind of timeline first, and then I'll explain, but it's important. So now that was the second week of spring break 2018 at Yale University. The spring break is 2 weeks, a full 2 weeks, typically in the middle of March. That's kind of how it goes down usually. And there are almost no students on campus during that time. And that's going to be an important point. So now, the Living or Napping While Black, I want to give you kind of a, excuse me. I want to give you kind of a brief timeline, and then I'll continue. So the Living or Napping While Black hate crime hoax at Yale University began on February 24th, 2018. I had an encounter with Jean-Louis Renison. I didn't know his name then, of course. And he followed me into the tower elevator of my dormitory on Yale's campus in violation of Yale housing regulations, and followed me up to the 12th floor of the tower of the Hall of Graduate Studies dormitory, where my room is the only dorm room on that floor, and the only other room on that floor was the little used 12th floor common room, but common room is truly a misnomer in this case. Anyway, so he was in violation of housing regulations should not have followed me up to my isolated dorm room. I had an encounter with him where I asked him to leave because he was not authorized to be there and had gained unauthorized access to the 12th floor of the tower. And ultimately, when I went into my dorm room, I made the decision to err on the side of caution, and I went ahead and called the non-emergency helpline of the Yale campus police. The first thing I said to the officer who answered was, "I don't know if I need your assistance." I told him what happened. He said, "We'll send someone by just in case, just to make sure everything's okay, and that officer will come speak with you." I said, "Great, no problem, bye." What ended up happening is no one ever came to speak to me. It did seem that some kind of event went down in the 12th floor common room, and then I was harassed. I was the person who was harassed that evening by the presumed students attending that event. They were screaming and yelling, mocking comments and obscenities through my door into my dorm room. And they were seemingly upset that I had called the non-emergency helpline of the Yale campus police. And then I sent an email to the resident coordinators. They didn't get back to me until hours later. They sent me an accusatory email, a seemingly accusatory email. The Yale housing managers intervened. They asked me to come in for a meeting on Monday, February 26th, 2018. I did so. The Yale housing managers, when I met with them on Monday, February 26th, 2018, told me in no uncertain terms that I had done absolutely nothing wrong, that I was the only person involved in the incident who had done absolutely nothing wrong, that I should not give it a second thought, that I should return to my dissertation, that they would deal with the presumed students who harassed me that evening, and that they were also extremely upset with the way that the resident coordinators had handled the situation, and that those resident coordinators would be reprimanded. It was fine with me. I was completely satisfied. I had no interest in destroying anyone's life. I had no interest in getting anyone in trouble. I simply wanted to be left alone and in peace to work on my PhD dissertation in my isolated dorm room, and I just wanted to be left alone. That's all I wanted. Later that week, at the end of the week, I was told that I had to come in for a meeting with the Yale housing director, George Longyear, and that both of the resident coordinators would be there. I did not want to go. I was contacted by Kate St. Marie, one of the Yale housing managers. The other Yale housing manager with whom I had met on that Monday was Beth Bishop. I actually believed that the reason why I was being asked to come in to meet with the Yale housing director, George Longyear, on Friday, March 2nd, 2018, was so that the resident coordinators could apologize to me. When I went in to meet with the Yale housing director, George Longyear, on Friday, March 2nd, 2018, only one of the two resident coordinators were there, the young man, not the young woman. I won't name them, even though they're very much a part of this story, saga. So when I was meeting with the Yale housing director, George Longyear, he told me that I was being accused of racism. He told me that the man whom I had encountered and the resident who had invited him had written a letter to Yale Graduate School Diversity Dean Michelle Nerin accusing me of racism. He wouldn't tell me exactly what it was that I had said or done that was allegedly racist. And he told me that this was quote unquote gaining traction across campus and especially within the administration. He told me that a group of Yale deans had convened in some manner and had determined punishments for me. He told me that I was expected to undergo implicit bias training and that this would be a new policy implemented for all incoming Yale graduate students. He told me that the Yale deans were teaching this as a quote unquote learning opportunity, and that I was expected to participate in a public town hall at which I would profess my racism and I would help other members of the Yale community to learn how not to be racist like me. I explained to Yale Housing Director George Longyear that this was unacceptable to me because I am a lifelong human and civil rights licensed attorney activist who had never engaged in racism in her life and who worked on the issues of implicit bias and police brutality with the Justice Collaboratory at Yale Law School, and that I couldn't publicly profess being a racist because that would destroy my reputation and livelihood and legal and academic careers as a human and civil rights activist. So that wasn't going to happen. He seemed very upset and he seemed to want to get me out of his office immediately. I tried to ask him if anything had been done about the students who harassed me on the evening of February 24th, 2018, as Beth Bishop and Kate St. Marie, the two Yale housing managers, said that they would address that, and he claimed not to know anything about it. And and he basically, my interpretation of his speech and behavior was that he said, you know, I just wanted to let you know, basically, well, he did say that. He said, I just wanted to let you know what was happening and that this was spreading across the Yale administration and that people were getting, you know, excited about this accusation, and I wanted to let you know that. And then he was like, basically, get out. And my interpretation of his speech and behavior was him basically saying, well, I just wanted to let you know that shit's about to hit the fan. And now I wash my hands of you. So between Friday, March 2nd, 2018 and Friday, March 9th, 2018, I made attempts to resolve the issue with Yale Housing as well as with Yale Graduate School Dean, Diversity Dean Michelle Nearin, to no avail. That was not successful. I became very concerned, and I became very concerned about protecting myself and my rights and protecting my livelihood and my reputation, and I felt that I was being defamed. So I did decide to go ahead and file a police report with Yale campus police officer Grace Schenkel on Friday, March 9th, 2018. Now, it's important to know that Friday, March 9th, 2018 was the last day of classes and the beginning of spring break, okay? And also on that day was when I experienced one of what I now understand to be stalking events that took place during spring 2018. And I didn't want to actually think that it was a stalking event at the time. I wasn't sure. It was terrifying nonetheless. But ultimately I realized that that was a stalking event that happened. So on Friday, March 9th, 2018, I was crossing the street on Yale's campus, and there was a group of students next to me, presumed students next to me, who were talking about me and who were talking about what had happened in the Hall of Graduate Studies on February 24th, 2018. They described me as a racist who needed to be kicked off campus and thrown out of school. I think I'm going to stop here and do this in a second part because I think this is getting a little long, I think. But anyway, so it's just important to have this timeline down. The last thing I'm going to say before I stop this first part, and then the second part I'll paraphrase the email, and I'll explain how, in fact, it does not prove that I'm lying about having been harassed during the Living or Napping While Black hate crime hoax at Yale University in spring 2018. It actually corroborates my every claim that I've made. So the last thing I want to tell you is that, so March 9th was the beginning of spring break 2018 at Yale University, and then the end of spring break 2018 at Yale University was Monday, March 26th, 2018. So there was a full 2 weeks there of spring break, and there were almost no students on campus during that time. And then the only other thing I want to tell you is that I'll start with that at the beginning of part 2. Okay, so I'll wrap this up. I'll have a ton of links below, including a link to my blog post that has a link to the PDF of this email, which has been bandied about as proving that I'm lying about having been harassed. And it does no such thing. It actually corroborates my version of events, and why people would think that I would release documents and pass out documents like candy that undermine my claims about the living or napping while black hate crime hoax at Yale University is beyond me. Why do you think I would do that? Are you that fucking stupid? Come on. Anyway, okay. So this is the end of part 1. I'll have a ton of links below, including my PayPal me and GoFundMe. Please support me. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, great. I'll talk to you soon. See you in part 2. Bye.